You are listening to the Julie Parker Practice Success Podcast, where you discover management insights and strategies for a successful dental practice. There are also interviews with key people in the industry who have advice and services to help you and your team achieve great success. Welcome to this week's episode of the Julie Parker Practice Success Podcast. And today I thought I'd talk to you about the value of a mystery shopper and how this can really help you identify ways that your dental practice can start to stand out amongst the rest. Mystery shoppers can be a source of a little anxiety for dental teams, and maybe some practice owners don't want to kind of put their team through this. However, the value of what a mystery shopper can deliver to your practice and the insights that they can help you identify are so enormous. I really think it's worthwhile going down the path of considering how you could use a mystery shopper in your dental practice to improve the level of service that you provide to your patients. Even if your dental team knew that a mystery shopper was going to be coming in at some point in time over the next couple of months, you still gain all of those insights. And in addition to that, you also gain the advantage of, if you were a dental team member and you knew that a mystery shopper was coming in over the next couple of months, you would raise your bar. You would naturally raise the level of communication, listening, and service that you extend out to your patients. And as a deliverer of that service and that adjusted service with that slightly higher level, you feel that within yourself as well. And so you instantly recognize, gosh, I could be delivering something a bit stronger. So I do believe that you get all kinds of benefits when you involve a mystery shopper, whether you're very open with your team about the impending arrival of them or not. So I've got a particular process that I encourage dental practices to move through. It involves a survey that you give to your mystery shopper to complete, so you can start to see areas that could do with a bit of improvement within your practice. So let me tell you the process. Number one, there are companies that provide mystery shoppers, professional mystery shoppers that come out to your practice. I don't necessarily believe that we need to go to that level of complexity and cost. I think it can be as easy as arranging for a family member or friend of yourself or one of the team members to come on in. And we want them to really start evaluating everything, so very fresh eyes. I've heard some practices using an existing patient, and I think sometimes even an existing patient, just like existing staff members, we end up going a bit blind to what we see because it's all familiar to us. What we want is to have an authentic visit with fresh eyes from somebody so they can feel what it's like to experience your dental surgery. So contact them before time and say, will you be a mystery shopper for our dental practice? Tell them what you're doing. And encourage them to go online to look at your website, to look at your Google reviews, to look at your Facebook page, Instagram page, and then call your surgery and organise an appointment time just for something like a checkup and a clean is all that's needed. Of course, that patient never actually pays for that treatment. Let them know to go through the payment process, but that you will reimburse them after the appointment time once you know exactly how much that they would be charged. But we want every step of the process to be as authentic as possible. So move them through even the payment process. Encourage them that when they actually turn up to the appointment time, just to be mindful about what they're seeing, hearing, feeling, smelling, all of the senses that are going on for them. And just then to simply act like a normal patient. Once they have attended the practice, received their service, paid for the treatment, and left the practice, you then email them through a survey. And the one that I've developed for such a situation has been designed in such a way that it really moves them through their journey as things occurred in a timely fashion. And there aren't an enormous amount of questions either. We don't want the questionnaire to be so involved that they feel they would be better off actually bringing it with them to the appointment time on a clipboard and ticking things off as they go, studying everybody's behaviour and writing everything in. So we want to have their experience encapsulated in as fewer questions as possible, but still enough questions to get a very clear snapshot of what their experience has been like. This questionnaire that I have designed, it has 3 columns. The first column is an X, and the X means left poor impression. The second column is a dash, left a neutral impression. And the third column is a plus, added value to the experience. And so all they need to do once they've got the questionnaire in front of them, as quickly as possible after that appointment time so everything is fresh in their mind, they're just moving through the questionnaire, indicating on each line whether that particular element of their experience left a poor impression, a neutral impression, or actually added value to the experience. Of course, we want to make sure that we are doing everything we can as a dental practice, that every step of their journey, the patient journey, is actually adding value to their experience. When we get to that level of patient care, patient service, that's when we've got people talking about their wonderful experiences to their friends, their family, online, and encouraging people to come along and enjoy the benefits of your practice as well. So we've got these 3 columns. All they need to do is put a tick in one of those boxes: left poor impression, neutral, added value to the experience. There is also an additional area where they can add comments if they feel they would like to. And then the questionnaire is broken up into sections. Number 1 section is prior to arriving. And so the 3 areas of that are the website, social media page, and telephone call to book in. So they need to put a marking of what their experiences of your website were, of what their experience of your social media, what the impression that your social media pages left upon them, and the actual telephone call when they called to schedule the appointment time. What was that like? Just a tick in one of those boxes. It either left a poor impression on you, a neutral impression, or added value to the experience. And then, of course, if there are any specific comments after that, they enter that in. Now, with the website, I look at a lot of websites, and I have to say many of them do leave a completely neutral impression on me. And it's really a lost opportunity. The kind of elements of a website that leave me feeling pretty neutral are when the photographs of the team members are obviously not the team members. You've seen them many times before in other stock photographs. And that always leaves me feeling pretty neutral, because when you go into somebody's website, you want to find out more about them. And when the pictures of the staff members aren't even them, it's not giving you any information to gauge for yourself whether this is a friendly place to come along to or not. These models look friendly, but what about your actual team members? So I do encourage websites to have the actual team members, photographs of the actual practice on their site. That's exactly what the visitors to your website are looking for. They're looking for information about you, not random people that they'll never meet. Another element of the website that leaves me feeling pretty neutral is the standard just list of services, what wisdom teeth extractions are all about, etc. And we need to have that information somewhere for patients so they can research if they're personally going to be getting that treatment done for themselves. However, the website is a lovely opportunity to give them a feel for who you guys are. And so what I would like to see on the opening pages of a website or in the About Us page of a website is not just the staff bios. I love the staff bios as well. I think that's crucial. But also, why are you guys here? Why is attending your practice going to be better for me than attending anybody else's practice? And I've recently been moving through the value of stated purpose, vision, values of a dental practice with my buddy Amina and I. We have a company called Dental Business Mastery, and we're rolling out a program for dental practice managers to train them up in all the skills required for dental practice management. And it has really reminded me that a thoughtfully created set of values and vision for the practice can really describe to a stranger what your practice is all about, what your people are all about, how you uniquely look after your patients when they come in for their dental treatment. So the website is really, it's a wonderful opportunity because you can put so much information in there. You can put videos which are much more engaging than text as well. And you can make it a place where people find out who you really are, what it's like to be a patient of your dental practice. So the website can play a very big role in attracting new patients and the patients that you want into your practice. Social media pages. Again, we don't want them just educational and informative. We want them to be a bit of a snapshot of what life is like at your dental practice, how much fun your team have working together and delivering great service, how happy your patients look when they're coming in for their first examination and they've got their certificate delivered to them and there's a beautiful snapshot of a happy child's face, of patients winning a little competition that you may have had and they've got their prized hamper in their hands looking all very happy. So the social media pages are an extension of your website. It's just a less formal way of describing to your patients, this is how good we are, this is how fun we are, this is how caring we are. This is another indication of how good you'll feel coming to us as a dental patient. The telephone call to book in, I've often spoken about the value of the dental receptionist, and they have such an enormous impact on the success of a dental practice. And one of the reasons is because the experience they deliver to new callers when they call up for an appointment time will either influence them to move through that process and book in with you or not. So we do want to have that feedback about what it was like for the mystery shopper to actually telephone the practice and book in for that appointment time. Now, this is an example of how complex we don't need to make the survey. I've just got their telephone call to book. Was it an experience that left a poor impression, a neutral impression, or it added value to the experience? We don't need to go into the minutiae of how long will you put on hold if you were on hold. How many rings did it take to answer the telephone call? I don't believe we need to go to that level because we just want to know generally, was the experience good, bad, or neutral? So that's the first element, the prior to arriving element. The second element is arrival. 3 areas here as well: external signage, landscaping and building, and parking. And so is the external signage, is that leaving a good impression, a neutral impression, or is it lacking in people's minds? External signage is something that when it's brand new, all the colours are vibrant, the font is modern, the signage is clean and free of dirt and cobwebs. However, the external signage is something that ages very quickly because of weather. And so you want to make sure that the external signage that you have outside your practice is always kept and maintained well and replaced when colours are fading. If you have the list of dentists on your signage at the front, do make sure that you update that as your team updates over time as well. We want everything to be current, be on top of these minor things to help patients understand that we're on top of the major things as well. The landscaping in the building. Quite obviously, we don't want weeds. We don't want a rotting roof. We want to make sure the external paintwork is nice and fresh, doesn't have dripping rust marks, etc. on it. We want to make sure that our gardens are free of rubbish that can sometimes blow in the area. And the landscaping is really easy to actually maintain because that one, you just hire a gardener to come out and do it for you. The cost is minimal to get the kind of benefits of always having a highly presentable business from the outside. And then parking. Is the parking area easy to manoeuvre? Are there spaces left in the car park for everyone that needs to park? We do gripe sometimes about the need to address council requisites for parking when we try to expand our surgeries. But we benefit from that too because it is very frustrating if you're turning up to a dental appointment time and time again, and every time you arrive, there's no parking spaces left. It is a big hindrance and a big issue for some patients and some practices. And if you don't have proper parking facilities, then investigate where else patients can park and let them know of their other options as well. I know of a dental practice that was in existence for many, many years, and then the parking limitations in their busy street parking changed. So all of a sudden it was half hour rather than the 2 hour time slots. The patients became more and more frustrated. They would ring up and say, I know I'm due to be walking in the door right now. I am still circling, looking for a park. I'm just going to end up going home. It's a waste of my time. So parking, if it's an issue with your premises, do find other locations where patients can actually park and let them know about it. Otherwise, if you have more than adequate allocation for parking, always make sure that the team members of the dental team are parking at the more difficult, furthest away car parks. Make sure all the current ones are left free for your patients. We want to make it as easy as possible for them to come in and maintain their loyalty at your practice. Make sure that you've got proper signage and attractive signage if you do have signs up in your parking area. If you had something like, for dental practice patients only, make sure it's an attractive sign. And that the area is always free of too many dried leaves and any rubbish. Get everyone in the habit of assessing it as they're walking from their cars, any team members who walk from their cars into the practice to pick up the odd piece of rubbish if it's lying around. Now, the third element is the entrance. And so when this mystery shopper turns up to their appointment time, how well were they welcomed by staff? Did that leave a poor impression, a neutral impression, or did it add value to the experience? The welcoming by staff nowadays with the COVID situation and the added PPE and all of the restrictions, etc., all that stuff needs to be in place. However, I don't believe that needs to negatively impact the way we welcome our patients. And I always talk about the first 4 seconds, how crucial they are in providing a positive impression on a patient walking into the practice, because studies show that within the first 4 seconds, patients will determine whether they like you guys or not. It's not long, just 4 seconds. But in those first 4 seconds, what you can do is, as quickly as possible, the minute that patient walks in the front door, that you, regardless of how away from the reception desk the front door is, that patient is being greeted with your eyes, eye contact as quickly as possible. The second step is a big smile, and the third step is say something welcoming. And that welcoming thing to say could just be welcome. So we can still make patients feel completely welcome when they walk into your practice. We want them to feel as quickly as possible, I'm in the right place. The appearance of the waiting room is the second step of the entrance area of the survey. The appearance of the waiting room is one of those things that the staff will quickly go blind to. However, fresh eyes in that space will pick up dust, cobwebs, maybe a dirty rug, maybe untidy magazines, not that we've got magazines in our waiting room at the moment. And so their eyes are all tuned into that. We want to make sure that when somebody comes into our space, we're tapping into all of their senses and making some kind of effort to have that sense be positively stimulated. And so then the mystery shopper will indicate the appearance of the waiting room either left a poor impression, a neutral impression, or added value to the experience. The next step of the entrance area of the survey is the level of comfort waiting. Are the chairs actually comfortable? Is it too noisy with clinical sounds? Is the background music up too loud or on an inappropriate music station? Remember that we've got dental patients that could be experiencing a level of anxiety. And so one of the key areas where they'll pick up information is from the feeling, the tactile senses, but also the audible as well. And team after team, I encourage them, don't select music, background music, to what suits the staff. It's there to help the patient be more comfortable. So do be mindful about that. We don't want anything really upbeat, high energy, modern if we've got older patients or anxious patients in the chair. We want something calming, restful, putting them into a space where they can truly relax. Another point of the level of comfort waiting, is there adequate heating or cooling in the practice as well? That's money well spent to make sure that there is a controlled temperature for your patients. And the fourth element is friendliness of the receptionist. And so sitting in the waiting room, you can imagine you're hearing what the receptionist says and how they interact with other team members and with people over the telephone as well. And of course, how they're directly interacting with the mystery shopper as they wait. So we've done the welcome, and then once that patient's in the waiting room, are they then ignored? Or is there a bit of small talk? Is there a bit of rapport building and relationship building during that time? And so they're the four elements of entrance: welcome by staff, appearance of waiting room, level of comfort waiting, and friendliness of the receptionist. And I hope you can get a sense that as a mystery shopper is moving through this survey after they've completed the whole experience, these questions are grouped in such a way and are broad enough that they will clearly remember what their experience of things were at their recent appointment time. So the next step is their clinical experience. And the survey lines under clinical experience are welcome and guidance through to the surgery. This is a lovely opportunity for the dental assistant to build that connection with the patient. Quite often, once the patient's already in the surgery, the ability to build up any kind of rapport with the dental assistant can be quite limited because most interactions are between the patient and the practitioner. However, the welcome and guidance through to the surgery is a fantastic opportunity for the dental assistant to make that connection with the patient themselves. So the assistant could roll out the accepted norm of that role, of that process, by walking semi into the waiting room, calling the patient's name out and saying, come on through now, we're ready for you, and guides them into the surgery, takes their handbag for them or their wallet for them, puts them to the side and indicates for them to sit in the dental chair. Now that's going to leave not a negative impression, that's kind of what's expected. So it ends up leaving a neutral impression. And so think about what could be done to actually leave a positive impression, and that this particular experience added to the experience of attending your dental practice. And so the assistant comes in, knows exactly who they're collecting from the waiting room, looks them in the eye. Hi there, are you Sally? Big warm smile. My name's Julie. I'm your dental assistant today. Please come on through. And you are deepening the level of experience and providing the patient with a bit of a wow around how you move through this very simple process. The second element of the clinical experience is the appearance of the surgery. Again, something that staff members go blind to very quickly. One of the classic things that I see as a fresh-eyed person coming into a dental surgery situation is the standard of any posters that are up in the surgery walls. Sometimes, if they're not laminated or framed, their corners are picking up and they're looking a bit torn and frayed. Not a good look. And also clutter, that there's too many things on the countertops and it just appears messy and cluttered. Of course, we want to do the basics, make sure that the floors are free of any dirt or grime and that all the areas are free of dust. Comfort during the procedure is the next one. So are your dental chairs actually comfortable? As a patient, does the mystery shopper, would they have preferred to have a pillow for their neck offered to them? Is the surgery itself too cold? Quite often, the dental team are the ones moving around. They need the temperature a bit colder than someone who's just lying there receiving the treatment. So could a blanket be offered to them? And just general comfort of how was the local anaesthetic, if that was administered, how was that administered? Was the treatment painful or was it actually quite comfortable? Were they pulling on the lips too much? Putting too many instruments on the patient chest during the procedure itself? So what was the comfort level of the procedure itself? The suctioning, was that gentle and effective, or did that actually leave a poor impression of the experience? The next step is the explanations by the practitioner. And this is just crucial, isn't it? You know, patients don't know anything about dental. Dentists know everything about dental. And we forget sometimes that we are using lingo or presuming they know certain aspects of dentistry when we explain things to them. And so we do want to get that fresh-eyed or fresh-eared perception of how does this particular practitioner explain the treatments to the patients. And then the next two are demeanour of dentist or demeanour of practitioner and demeanour of assistant. We think sometimes we can be grumpy with the person that we're working with and it's not going to be picked up by the patient. Absolutely not. They pick up on everything. And so it's always an interesting question to ask, of did the demeanour of the dentist and the demeanour of the assistant, did that leave a poor impression on you as a patient, a neutral impression, or did it add value to the experience? Then we go into finalising your visit. So ease of payment. We've gone out to the reception desk. Is it easy to pay? Do I need to stand in a line and wait because there's 4 surgeries and only 1 receptionist? Was it easy to understand my bill and what I'm paying for? Do you take all the major credit cards and make it as easy as possible to accept my money? So the ease of payment. The second one is the ease of making the next appointment time. Did the receptionist facilitate that process well? Ask if there were any questions that you had about what was coming up for your next appointment time. Do you know exactly when it's going to be, how much it's going to be, how long you're going to be there for? And of course, the third element is the demeanour of the receptionist. Did the receptionist's demeanour leave a poor impression, a neutral impression, or did that actually add value to your overall experience? And then the final question is follow-up. Were there any follow-up communications and what kind of impression did that leave? Maybe there are no follow-up communications. Maybe you phone your new patients the day after their visit to make sure they had a positive experience, that they didn't have any questions. Maybe that's in the form of a letter instead, or an SMS. It was great to have you here. We hope that you were thrilled with your experience. Please fill out this quick questionnaire about what your experience was with us. So every practice has a different kind of follow-up or zero follow-up sequence for their new patients. And so whatever you do in your practice, we want that assessed by the mystery shopper as well. Did that follow-up leave you with a poor impression, a neutral impression, or did it add value to your experience? Now, I always like to find out further information if that mystery shopper had it to give. So at the end of this survey, it stated, would you describe the overall friendliness, helpfulness and likability of our team was, and they tick one of the next 3 boxes, was it below what you expected, so therefore below satisfactory customer service? Was it as you expected, so satisfactory customer service? Or did it surpass your expectations? That means it was great customer service. And then the following questions. Was your experience with our practice such that you would return for advised treatment? That's important to know. Was your experience such that you would convert to our practice as your regular dentist? You certainly would if you were surpassing all of their expectations and their existing dental practice just went along as was expected. Were there any outstanding elements to your experience that we should either make sure we keep or make sure we change? And are there any other further comments that you would like to make? And then that questionnaire rounds off with thank you for sharing your observations and input. And so you can see the various elements of the dental patient experience that you are providing to your existing patients and to any new patients that come through. Each element of their visit will either leave a poor impression, a neutral impression, or it will add value to their overall experience. And what our intention needs to be as dental practice operators is to make sure we are looking at every element, every step of that patient journey and discovering, identifying, coming up with ideas of how we can make every element add further value to the experience. When we do that to as many, hopefully all aspects of that patient journey, that's when we start building a reputation for the place to go. And nowadays, with all the social media commentary in particular suburb Facebook groups, often those questions come up. Who knows a great dentist? And you want to be the one that's named every single time. I know that I used to live in Bayside in Melbourne. And whenever that question came up in their local community group of who knows a great dentist, this one particular practice came up time and time again. And it does leave you thinking, gosh, this practice is above and beyond. This practice do things that are truly different from other dental practices. I'm going to go along to see that because I want to be impressed. I want to be thrilled with the dental practice that I see. I don't want to just have a neutral experience. So once you've got the feedback from your mystery shopper, they've completed the paperwork, the very short questionnaire that's easy to fill out, leave it a little bit of time. If you've kept it quiet of who the mystery shopper is or when the mystery shopper was coming in, if you kept that quiet from your team so you can get really, truly authentic assessments of what happens on a day-to-day basis in your practice, then wait a little bit of time before bringing this information to your next staff meeting. Otherwise, what can happen is that if it's too quickly afterwards, you think, oh, I think it was the patient that came in yesterday that gave that information. I think I know who they're talking about. The benefit of waiting a bit of time is that it's difficult for team members to identify who it was. And so then you can utilize that same person every year, every couple of years to come in and assess your practice. But as I say, there's nothing wrong with letting your team know. If you feel like it's going to be a breach of trust that you have with your team members, let them know. We're organising a mystery shopper. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're all going to get a great amount of feedback that we can work with to make sure that we can start to truly stand out from the crowd by implementing ways to make sure our patient experiences are so wonderful. And so they're going to be coming in at some point over the coming month. The minute we've got their feedback, we'll come in, do a team meeting, bit of a brainstorming session to go through the information that was delivered and how we can improve the areas that were neutral or leaving a poor impression on the mystery shopper. So I hope I've encouraged you and highlighted to you the wonderful benefits that your practice can experience by getting a mystery shopper to come on through as a patient. As dental team members, we're always curious about how to make things better for our patients. However, the daily operations of running a practice and working in a practice can often take over in priority. And so it is important to allocate time every now and again to gather as a group. Consider, what are you doing right now? Does it really suit the patients? Is there a way to improve their experience in all of these different areas? And when we do set aside time and energy for that process of discovery, that's when we provide ourselves with the opportunity of being better than the rest and standing out from the crowd. If you would like to move through this process and utilize the questionnaire that I've developed, then the link for that download is in the show notes. So do jump onto the show notes for this particular episode and have a look at that. It can be a great way of starting off the year 2022. We're only in January and you've got a whole year to discover what you can do as a practice to improve by receiving this crucial feedback from a mystery shopper. I hope you take the opportunity to roll this one out. I look forward to speaking with you next week. Bye. Hey, if you enjoyed listening to this episode, you should join the club. The club members receive an online lunch and learn where I share insights, systems and strategies to improve the success of your practice. These lunch and learns could not be easier. They are recording so you can watch them at a time that suits you. Members also have full access to the library of all of our past topics. It is a powerful and effective way to upskill your team. I hope to see you there.